my name is Ashley Charlton, and I'm currently enrolled in Piedmont International University in the Apologetics course with Alex McFarland, and I'm making this video as a requirement to defend the Christian faith based off of an objection from a critic or skeptic. The objection that I'm going to use is the same myth that Alex McFarland used in his book, The God You Thought You Knew. How can Christianity be true if it's based off of a dead man coming back to life? And just as he stated, if there is proof for an empty tomb or the resurrection, then Christianity can be true. And so first I want to go over the objections that people use to Christianity. There are people used against the crucifixion and resurrection. There are a lot of them, and there's also a lot of evidential basis to defend the Christian faith in those aspects. Also, I want to use what we call the minimal facts theory by Gary Habermas to be able to defend the Christian faith properly. The first theory is the swoon theory, and that basically states that Jesus either didn't die on the cross or that he was just badly maimed. And so obviously this is probably one of the most irrational theories of the different objections that people have used. First and foremost, there's no way Jesus couldn't have died on the cross. Number one, if a Roman soldier was found to have not killed a capital criminal in that time, he himself was to be crucified. So they made sure that the job was done, so to say. Second, the doctors in the past, such as David Tarasca, which is a medical doctor, have went through the piercing of Jesus' side and explained why water and blood came out. Jesus suffered from asphyxia, which is what anybody suffered in that day on the crucifixion. And when that happens, a sack of water builds up around the heart. And with it building up around the heart, when Jesus' side was pierced and water and blood came out, the sword had pierced the sac around the heart and then pierced the heart. So that was another proof that Jesus had died. And if he hadn't died, he would not have walked around as a whole and healthy Jesus preaching the gospel to others in resurrected form. He would be walking around limping, badly maimed, unrecognizable as man. And so those are a few of the just a few of the examples of why that's an irrational theory. The next is that the disciples stole the body. The reason this can't be true is, when Jesus was taken to be crucified, all of the disciples, they ran and fled and hid. And so there's no logical reason for all of the disciples to come back together and steal the body when they were scared of the people that were, Peter denied Jesus 3 times, and the rest of the disciples disappeared except for John at the foot of the cross. So it doesn't make rational sense to be able to say that the disciples came back and stole the body because they were fearful for their lives without breaking the Roman seal, which was on the stone covering the tomb. The next theory is that the resurrection was some sort of legend, even though even historians have shown that the Bible is scriptural evidence. It is historical. It's not some made-up story. There's also evidence outside of Scripture, such as Tacitus. Tacitus was a Greek military writer. He refers to it in his writings. Josephus was a Roman Jewish historian, not neither in Scripture. And he also refers to the writings. There is also another objection that they use is that the disciples saw some sort of a hallucination, or that the apostles did. One big argument to this is Paul. Paul, which was earlier known as Saul, is a prime example of why it was not some sort of hallucination. Saul was a well-known Pharisee. He was not crazy. He didn't hallucinate. He was strictly against the strictly against the followers of the way, or the Christians. And so for Paul to be radically transformed the way he was, which was, Josephus actually mentioned in his writings, which might I add was not in Scripture, that Paul had a radical transformation that can only be explained by a spiritual force. Paul, that was not a hallucination for him. It was real and it was vivid and it had occurred, along with the other disciples who had ran and fled and suddenly come back. Those are a few of the